Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're digging into a real head-scratcher in the crypto world, Stellar, also known as XLM. See, on one hand, the news around Stellar has been absolutely incredible, just one game-changing announcement after another. But on the other hand, well, the price chart seems to be telling a completely different and much gloomier story. So let's figure out what's going on. Okay, so this is the heart of the matter, right? This is the big question. You have a network that is just firing on all cylinders, locking in partnerships, and getting real-world use. But the price, it just seems to be stuck in the mud. So what is the market seeing that the headlines aren't? Or is the market completely missing the boat here? And this slide, wow, it just lays out the whole conflict perfectly. In the left corner, you've got the technical charts basically screaming danger. The price is way down, traders are getting a strong sell signal, but in the right corner, you have this powerhouse of amazing news. A partnership with MasterCard, a huge designation from the DTCC, and if you don't know, the DTCC is basically the plumbing for the entire US financial system. And to top it all off, it gets regulatory clarity from the US government. So let's break down both sides, starting with those scary-looking charts. All right, so first up, let's try to understand why the chart looks so intimidating. For a lot of traders, the price action right now is just painting a picture full of red flags, and it's creating what they call a real wall of worry. Yeah, that number, it's pretty brutal. Now, sure, there's been a little bit of a recovery lately, but XLM is still down a whopping 82% from its all-time high way back in 2018. I mean, if you've been holding for a while, man, that has been a long and painful wait. And for anyone new looking to invest, it just shows how much ground there is to make up. So, if we zoom in on what the professional traders are looking at, this is kind of a snapshot. You've got these common indicators they use to check the pulse of the market, things like the RSI and MACD, which basically measure the energy and direction of the price. They're almost all pointing in one direction, sell. The overall consensus from these tools is flashing a strong sell signal, and that's hard for the market to ignore. And look, it's not just one single thing, right? It's a combination. The price is trapped below these really important trend lines, which is creating what analysts call an iron ceiling of resistance. Then you see this. A whale, a huge holder, moves 150 million XLM onto an exchange. Now that gets people nervous. Why? Because it usually means they're getting ready to sell. And when a sale that big could be coming, it spooks the market. Throw in the fact that the entire crypto market is in a state of extreme fear, and you've got a really tough storm to try and sail through. Okay, but let's flip the script, because while the charts are telling one story, the actual real-world progress that Stellar is making, well, that's a whole different ballgame. And this is where things get really, really interesting. So what's under the hood? It all comes down to Stellar's unique tech. It doesn't use all that energy-intensive mining. Instead, it uses something called the Stellar Consensus Protocol. Now, forget the complicated jargon. All you really need to know is that it's super fast. We're talking 3 to 5 seconds to finalize a transaction, and the fees are practically zero. And that speed and low cost is exactly what makes it so appealing to big, real-world companies. And because of that speed and low cost, the big players have been lining up. I mean, look at this timeline. This isn't some flash in the pan. They've been grinding for a decade. From a huge deal with IBM early on, to Franklin Templeton putting a real mutual fund on their network, to hooking up with MoneyGram's massive global system, and then finally getting that official regulatory clarity, it's just a solid track record of getting things done. And this Franklin Templeton deal, let's be super clear about this. This isn't just a press release about some future plan. This is a $500 million fund from a $1 trillion manager running on a public blockchain right now. That's not a test, that's the real deal. And it's one of the biggest stamps of approval a public blockchain has ever gotten from traditional finance. And then you have MoneyGram. This is so cool. It solves one of the biggest hurdles in crypto, the last mile problem. Think about it. How do you turn your crypto into actual cash you can hold in your hand, especially if you don't have a bank account? Stellar's integration with MoneyGram does exactly that. You can go to physical locations in over 170 countries and get your cash. That's what financial inclusion actually looks like. And this next piece might just be the most important of all, regulation. Getting the official stamp as a digital commodity in the US, that is a game changer. Just like their CEO, Danelle Dixon, said, it's a huge step for institutions. It basically tells all those big companies waiting on the sidelines, hey, it's safe to come in, the water's fine. It removes a ton of legal risk. Okay, so you can't have a conversation about Stellar without talking about its famous cousin, XRP. They have a shared history, sure, and they're both focused on moving money across borders. But they are definitely not the same thing. They've taken very different forks in the road and are going after totally different markets. And this chart just breaks it down perfectly. Stellar is a nonprofit, and its whole mission is about financial access for regular people, for the unbanked. Ripple is a for-profit company selling high-speed settlement solutions to the biggest banks in the world. The way I see it, Ripple and XRP are building the superhighways for massive banks to move money. Stellar, they're building all the local roads and on-ramps for the rest of us. They aren't really competitors. They're solving different parts of the same puzzle. So here we are. We've got the scary-looking charts on one side and these incredible, rock-solid fundamentals on the other. It's like that classic question, right? What happens when an unstoppable force meets an immovable object? Something's got to give. And if you look at the chart, that's literally what's happening. The price is getting squeezed between that iron ceiling of resistance from above and a solid floor of support from below. It's like coiling a spring. The tighter and tighter it gets wound, you just know that when it finally lets go, the move is going to be explosive. The only question is, which direction? So what are the odds? Well, analysts who live and breathe these charts are giving it about a 60% chance of breaking to the upside, which is encouraging for the bulls. But hey, 40% is not nothing, right? There's still a very real chance it gets rejected right here and heads back down to test that floor of support again. The market is basically holding its breath. So what are we watching for? What's going to be the spark that finally breaks this deadlock? Well, a few things. Number one, that DTCC platform we talked about. If that goes live using XLM, that's absolutely massive. Seeing real transaction volume pick up from the MasterCard and BitGet wallet partnerships is also key. And of course, Bitcoin is the big gorilla in the room. Wherever it goes, the market tends to follow. And don't forget, that new commodity label opens the door for something like a spot ETF. That would bring in a whole new wave of money. Which brings us to the big question we have to leave you with. Is Stellar this sleeping giant that's been quietly building the actual future of finance right under our noses while everyone's been distracted? Or are the charts right? Is the market sending a clear warning that all this good news just isn't enough to overcome the pressure? Something's about to break, and it's going to be fascinating to watch which story wins out.